Dictators, when they come to the end of their dictatorship, the power, they usually go insane. They do the most illogical things and they become delusional. So he might just stand to the end and declare victory. Hey, we're winning the war.
The 12-day war, a fierce, brutal missile battle between the Jewish state of Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran. It seems over now. There is a ceasefire in place, but tremendous damage done on both sides. And the question is, what's happening inside the Iranian regime right now? What's happening with the Iranian people? How do they more broadly see their own regime? How do they see Israel? How do they see President Trump and the United States' involvement in attacking and we think obliterating 3 of Iran's most strategic nuclear sites? And what's happening in the church in Iran? What is happening with the believers? How are they assessing what's happening? And should we be thinking that there's a possibility, a higher possibility than last week or the week before or last year, of regime change in Iran? A lot of questions to ask. Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg. Welcome to Inside the Epicenter, part of the educational ministry of the Joshua Fund, a ministry that Lynn and I started in 2006, the summer of 2006, to bless Israel and her neighbors in the name of Jesus, according to the Abrahamic covenant. It's Genesis 12, 1 through 3, summarized in part by God saying to the rest of the world about Israel, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And Israel has been cursed by the Iranian leadership and many devout Shia Muslims in Iran ever since 1979, almost 50 years. So what's the dynamic going on here right now? Well, I can't think of anybody else I would want to have this conversation with in the first few days after this intense conflict, this direct war. We've never seen any war between Israel and Iran in the past, 47 years or so, anything like this. We are in uncharted waters right now. And so there's nobody I want to talk to more about this than my dear friend, Dr. Hormoz Shariat. He is the founder and the head of Iran Alive Ministries. Hormoz was born and raised in Tehran, the capital of Iran. He was born and raised in a Shia Muslim family and culture and mosque. And he, years later, came to faith. Pretty exciting, pretty dramatic, pretty radical. Him coming to faith in Jesus Christ, and his wife leaving Shia Islam, coming to faith in Jesus Christ. And then over time, the Lord raising them up to become gospel preachers, Bible teachers, disciple makers, pastor trainers, church planters in Iran, but they have to do it from exile. And as those of you who have heard me talk with and about Hormoz Shariat in the past know that I affectionately refer to him as the Billy Graham of Iran, because he is reaching millions and millions and millions of Iranian Muslims and atheists and others in Iran, not in stadiums, which would be illegal and dangerous, but by using satellite television to go right over the heads of the government and right over the heads of the mullahs and the ayatollahs, and speaking directly to the Iranian people in the privacy of their own homes. Hormoz Shariat joins us from Dallas, Texas. I'm in Washington. Hormoz, it's great to see you. Thank you for coming on the Inside the Epicenter podcast. Wow, we've got a lot to talk about today.
Well, thank you, Joel, for inviting. Yes, there's a lot going on, and there are different perspective on what's going on. The people of Iran, the government of Iran, the rest of the world, they may look at it differently.
Well, let's take this and break it into sections. First, the government, what's the regime thinking? Then what are the people thinking more broadly? Then what's going on inside the church, and where do we go from here? So I'm going to give you my take on what I think is happening inside the mind of Supreme Leader, so-called Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. And then feel free to tell me that I'm completely wrong, okay? Because you're the expert, but I'm going to start this way. I believe that the Supreme Leader Khamenei has two objectives in mind at the moment. First is to live. I think he wants to survive this. And I think he's very nervous that he wouldn't survive a direct attack on him. I think he believes President Trump knows where he is and will kill him if he has to. And I know that he believes that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu knows where he is and will kill him if he gets a chance. So I think his own personal survival is his first objective. And then the survival and sustainability of his power, of keeping the regime in power. I think that's the supreme leader's objectives. However, and if they are, that's the explanation why Khamenei and his regime were begging President Trump for a ceasefire over several days because they were getting picked apart, decimated by Israeli attacks on their nuclear sites, their ballistic missile facilities, all their top military leadership, and their top nuclear scientists. But that does not necessarily mean that the ceasefire will hold. The other scenario is that, yes, Khamenei wants to survive personally, and he wants his regime to survive. However, so did the Pharaoh of Egypt after the 10th plague. He decided, I don't want to have anything to do with Israel anymore. Let them go. That's fine. I just want to live, and I want to stay in power. And yet God didn't really allow that. He hardened the Pharaoh's heart because there was judgment coming that God sovereignly intended. So that's my assessment of where we are. What's your assessment? And feel free to give us a totally different perspective on what you think is going on.
Well, yes, you're right. Except that one part I have to correct you.
Okay.
One part is, you're right. He's in a survival mode. The government of Iran, two objectives: one, to survive; number two, to save face, and do it respectfully. Just Ali Khamenei came out of hiding after 13 days, and he did a talk But when he talked, he said, "Hey, we won the war. We defeated Israel, and Israel was almost gone. So they went and got help from U.S. and we were going to have victory over U.S. also." So he declared victory over Israel and U.S. in his talk. So he doesn't want to lose face, and at least to his own people. But survival is his objection. And another thing is, dictators, when they come to the end of their dictatorship, the power, they usually go insane. They do the most illogical things and they become delusional. So he might just stand to the end and declare victory. Hey, we're winning the war. We defeated Israel is afraid of us. We just killed so many and they don't dare. And he doesn't mention his military leaders have been killed. He did not mention any of that. He just came very positive. So people of Iran are very aware. When they hear him speech, they watch it, but as a comedy show. Okay. They laugh at it.
You don't think the Iranian people are buying what Khamenei is?
No way. No way. His speech was to strengthen his own side, which are not many, but he is trying to keep his side standing, because the moment the people on his side feel in danger, in a matter of 2-3 days, less than a week, they all will flee. They're all going to go and the government will collapse really fast. So he's trying to keep hold of his power and his people around him. So, and he knows, the people around him know, and even the regular government employees and Sepah, the Revolutionary Guards, know, if the government collapses, they are in trouble. The people of Iran are so angry. If they can, they will kill thousands of these mullahs on streets after revolution. And they know it. So they're sticking together. Let's stand together and not collapse, because if this government comes down, we all lose.
Khamenei is now about 86 years old. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Well, how would you describe his health in recent months?
We get different reports about his health. Some say he is very sick, but he gave a speech and he looked pretty good. So we don't know. But 86, he could be on his way. within the next few months or few years. Eventually, he will go down. That's another scenario, Joel, that people are saying, even in the past, let's wait. Because people came on the streets and many were killed, so they went home. And I said, maybe we should just wait.
People went on the streets to rise up and demonstrate and hopefully overthrow the regime, but the regime cracked down in a bloody, brutal, murderous manner.
That's right, 2 years ago. So people went home hopeless, and they said, we have two options, people of Iran. One, just wait. Don't go on the streets. Don't be stupid. Don't go out, because they're brutal. They're going to kill you, and they're going to rape your children, arrest them, torture them, rape them, and execute them. So they're staying home. That's one option. Just wait until he dies. Number two was, which has been the last year. You may have heard it. The last year, the people of Iran have been saying, hey, Netanyahu, would you do us a favor? Would you attack us? Would you do to us what you did in Lebanon, eliminating the top leaders one by one? Would you do that to us? And they were asking same from Trump. Just imagine a people group, a nation will call foreign nations. Would you attack us? Why would they do that? They are so desperate. So they're hopeless that they would ask for anybody to help them. Anybody out there, because they say we tried. We know we lost and we're going to lose again. We cannot do this. It's like people in captivity in a jail with somebody with gun watching over them. And if they speak up, they get killed. If they want to run away, they get killed. Of course, they're going to cry out. And anybody out there, can you hear our voice? Please, anybody in this world, US, Israel, would you come and help us and set us free? By the way, there is a concept that Iranian Christians are saying. They're saying, hey, Cyrus, set your people free. Now it's time to return the favor. Mm-hmm. You come and set our people free.
Very interesting. Wow. I had not heard that. It is interesting also because, of course, the United States and Israel are the very two countries that the Iranian regime hates the most and has been whipping up crowds for, again, half a century to say death to Israel and death to America. And then for the Iranian people to be saying, we don't want death to America and we don't want death to Israel. We want those two countries to come bomb us, attack us, and set us free. It was interesting in particular that Israel decided to fire a missile, at least one, at the notorious Evin prison to blow open the front gates and hope that political prisoners inside, of course, wouldn't die, but could, in fact, escape.
Yes, I think Israel is hoping that at any time during this war that the people of Iran will rise up and attacking the Evin prison. Maybe that was their purpose, that, okay, go get your prisoners. We broke down the wall. But people are so afraid, and they know this government will not allow it. Let me share this with you. I think the government of Iran is ruling over the people and Christians by fear and intimidation and merciless and violence. So people of Iran know that even now, if they come on the street, they will be killed. So even though the government of Iran is weak, the people of Iran are not ready to come on the streets to do anything. And the government of Iran already, I don't know if you have heard of it, they have already started putting Christians in prison, arresting and executing people. The last 10 days since the start of the war, there has been arrest and there have been executions. The people, they think maybe you're against us. No trial, no court. Just, you're with Israel. You're pro-Israel. Okay, we kill you. So the government is doing that even now to tell the people of Iran, before you even do an uprising, we are ahead of you. Moment you speak up, we will find you and we'll kill you.
So let me ask you that directly, Hormoz. Do you see an environment in which the Iranian people are going to rise up, or a faction inside the military or the regime itself is going to assassinate Khamenei or bring about some sort of coup d'etat? Or do you think the regime's going to actually survive this round of intense fighting?
It could survive, but the people will not uprise until they are sure that this government is done, and either the leaders have been killed or left the country. They will not come on as long as there is a danger to their lives, because they know, again, the government even might be very weak towards the foreign powers, but they're saying, hey, we lost our proxies. Yes, Israel has attacked us. We don't have any military left. Yes. But hey, we are strong towards you. Just dare to speak up. So the people know that, the violence, and that even if there is a weak government in Iran, still is going to kill them. So they're waiting. That's why they're saying, hey, Trump, please, no ceasefire. Did you know that people of Iran don't support the ceasefire? Did you know when they said there's a ceasefire, there was a desperation, there was a letdown. I had a live broadcast today talking about that. Hey, you shouldn't put your hope in Trump. He may just sit down and deal with them and come to an agreement with them. So, but they were like having so much hope. Yes. Sooner or later, the government will come down. They were saying the last 10 days, after the war, hey, Israel, would you finish the job? But they mean by finish the job. Would you kill Khamenei? Would you do that? You killed the leaders. Would you finish the job? But now suddenly there's ceasefire, and suddenly, hope deferred makes the heart sick. So people of Iran feel like sick right now. We were hoping this will end the regime, but now your ceasefire, or maybe you will sit down and do an agreement that's even worse. So very worried that Iran and U.S. and Israel will come to a kind of agreement. They're very worried about it.
Well, that's interesting you say at Hormoz, because I think Israelis are a bit of a split decision right now. We are very grateful that President Trump decided to authorize an order as a commander-in-chief, American B-2 stealth bombers to attack those three major Iranian nuclear facilities, Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan, I believe were the three, and drop those 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs, which is really the largest explosive device in the world that's not nuclear, right? I mean, these are the biggest bombs in the world. Nobody else has them, dropped by B-2 stealth bombers that nobody else in the world has them. Israel doesn't have them. Even if the United States gave us a bunker buster bomb, we don't have the planes to fly them. They're just massive, 15-ton bombs. So Israelis are very glad, very grateful that President Trump would do it, especially when we know that there are people very close to President Trump in his administration and in his orbit. Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, and others who were demanding that Trump not attack, that this was a betrayal of the Make America Great principles, that Israel was dragging the United States, dragging Trump into war, don't listen to Bibi, all of these different things. And, President Trump, to his credit, listened, but rejected that counsel. In fact, saying at one point, really dismissing Tucker Carlson as kooky Tucker. That's not the type of language that, we would have expected. But as much as, and I just sat literally on Monday night of this week with Israeli President Isaac Herzog, doing an interview for my program on TBN, the Rosenberg Report. And he was, he's a person who has had a lot of disagreements with Prime Minister Netanyahu over the years. Herzog is center left, Bibi is center right. These two have not always seen eye to eye, to say the least. But Herzog was deeply supportive, passionately supportive of the decision Netanyahu made, and he was deeply, passionately supportive of the decision President Trump made. However, there's also that side of, why does Trump want to make a deal with these people at all? Like, why do you want to make the regime, why would you lift sanctions potentially? Why would you allow money to flow back to that regime? They're on the ropes. Why are you so quick to a ceasefire? Yeah, we get it that we don't want war to go on forever, but is 12 days enough, right, to finish the job? And why did Trump get so angry at Prime Minister Netanyahu the other day on the South Lawn when Israel responded and retaliated against Iranian missile attacks that killed Israelis and did tremendous damage after the ceasefire started. And yet somehow Trump was mad at Netanyahu. So there's some confusion in Israel. Again, deep gratitude, but also what is Trump's end game here? Because the regime really seems on the ropes. That doesn't mean that God might not harden the heart, as we mentioned before, of Khamenei, so that Khamenei will take actions that we all think, well, that's crazy. Why would he do that? He just got Trump to stop Israel from doing any more attacks. Why would he do this? Or why would he do that? Now, it hasn't happened yet as you and I record this, but is that possible? It is possible. So it's interesting that I think the Israeli and the Iranian people many are on the same side of this and not quite sure why Trump, who was so bold, it was so quick to stop.
Trump is a deal maker, and I think that was a part of his pressure to come to a better deal with Iran. And that's why, but neither Iran nor Israel, I believe, agree with Trump to sit down and do negotiation. When the negotiations was going on, both Netanyahu and the people of Iran were against it. Why are you sitting down with them? And of course, Israel has its own reason, saying this is a time in history. Israel had never had this chance of destroying the nuclear facilities in Iran, not during the Biden, not before. So Israel is thinking this is a historical time to get rid of our enemy forever. Why are you negotiating with them? People of Iran are saying, why are you negotiating with them? I thought you're going to come and set us free. With negotiation, you're going to help this regime to continue to oppress us. We don't want. So both Iranian people and Israel were against the negotiations, and there still are.
Okay, in a moment when we come back from the break, I want to talk to you about where you think we are in terms of the Bible prophecies about the future of Iran, namely Jeremiah 49 and Ezekiel 38 and 39. But before we go to the break, one more question, and that is, you mentioned a little bit your live broadcast the other day and how people are responding, how Christians are responding, but not about Iran, not about the Israeli attacks on Iran and Trump, but just generally the health of the Iranian church right now. Are you seeing people still be hungry for the gospel, still making decisions for the gospel, or are you seeing that start to fade? Just give us a quick, unfortunately quick in this case, before we go to the break, just an assessment of how the Iranian evangelical church is doing and how we should be praying for them.
The church in Iran, that's what our ministry is. They get confused. Why? Because Iran has a large number of believers, but unfortunately, many of them are still babies. They don't have any churches, and we're trying to help them understand the events and not to respond emotionally with fear, just like the people. So our daily broadcast, since the war started, I have a daily broadcast at the prime time in Iran, talking to the people, both Christians and non-Christians. And for Christians, I'm giving them the courage and the vision. This is the time that you shine. Don't be afraid. This is receive love, peace, and hope, faith from the Lord, and just go pass it on to others. This is a time of ministry. The worse Iran gets, we have seen that, the more people come to Christ. There is an open heaven in Iran. If I can show you our salvation curve, you're going to be amazed. It's just growing exponentially. The number of people coming per month is growing every month more than the month before. So the open heavens are open in Iran, even these hard times.
Wow. Well, that's encouraging. We just feel so badly for the people of Iran. They've been trapped under these wicked regimes since 1979, since February 1st, 1979. And they never seem to catch a break, except that, as you've described, the environment has created a pressure cooker that's horrible, and yet it has created the exact conditions in which people in Iran are leaving Shia Islam and coming to faith in Jesus Christ in order to find the hope and the life and the forgiveness and the joy that they can only find in Jesus Christ and in the one true God of the Bible, then they're not going to ever find in Islam. So even though our hearts break for the people of Iran through all the suffering they're going through under this wicked regime, what Satan is intending for evil, to rob, kill, and destroy the Iranian dream, the Iranian, hope for the future, God is using to advance his kingdom. So you've also said to me in the past, multiple times, if the regime ever falls, when the regime falls, if the country, the United States or Israel comes to liberate the country, well, that would be good geopolitically, of course. It may also lead to fewer Iranians coming to faith in Jesus Christ if they started just experiencing peace and prosperity and normal life. So maybe comment on that real quick, and then we'll go to the break.
Yeah, that's true. And that has shown in the history. This is not a guess. We have seen it in the past. When the nations open up in the suffering, like Russia and Japan after the World War and other countries in suffering, they open up spiritually. But the moment the pressure goes and the government, more secular or democratic government comes, the hunger goes away. And so that's just human nature. In the pressure, you're more open to seeking God. And when life is easy, you kind of start forgetting. Even in America, praise the Lord, so many Christians, so many committed Christians. But gradually in the West, in Europe, you see that in the West, a good life, you gradually forget who saved you and who is the Lord. So in Iran, could happen when the regime changes. I believe we have 6 months to 1 year to establish something strong. That's why we have a plan. We call it the return plan in our ministry, Iran Alive Ministries. We have a solid plan. When we go back, when the government falls down, we're going to go back with a plan to establish a church, a strong base that will stand forever.
Amen. Amen. All right, we're going to take a break. Don't go away, everyone. When we come back on Inside the Epicenter, we're going to talk to Hormoz Shariat, the Shia Muslim convert to Christ, the Billy Graham of Iran, the founder and leader of Iran Alive Ministries, beaming the gospel over the heads of the mullahs, over the heads of the government, into Iran, into the Farsi-speaking, Persian-speaking world from their wonderful studios in Dallas. God is using them powerfully. Absolutely powerfully. And I want to talk to Hormoz about how he sees Bible prophecy and current events in light of Bible prophecy. Where does he think we are in Bible prophecy related to Iran right now? Don't go away. We'll be right back on Inside the Epicenter. Now, there's a verse I want to read, Hormoz, as we shift our conversation in the second half of the program to Bible prophecy. So this comes from Jeremiah 49, which is a prophecy about the future of Elam, E-L-A-M, which is an ancient name for Iran, or at least part of Iran, but we take it in modern times as this is a future prophecy in the end times, what will happen in Iran and to Iran. So God says in Jeremiah 49, verse 37, "So I will shatter Elam before their enemies and before those who seek their lives, and I will bring calamity upon them, even my fierce anger, declares the Lord. And I will send out the sword after them until I have consumed them." And then he says, God says through Jeremiah the prophet, "Then I will set my throne in Elam and destroy out of it king and princes, declares the Lord." Welcome back to Inside the Epicenter. I'm Joel Rosenberg, co-founder with my wife, Lynn, of the Joshua Fund almost 20 years ago and co-host of the program. We just got to Washington, D.C., and Lynn's meeting with some of our ministry allies right now. So I'm taking an opportunity to chat with my dear friend, Dr. Hormoz Shariat, the Billy Graham of Iran. We had a very interesting, it has been so exhausting, so brutal, so many missile sirens and so many direct hits. Yes, Israel's missile defense system shot down 80 to 90% of the ballistic missiles that were fired at us. But wow, I got to tell you, Hormoz, it was a brutal 12 days. And even when a single missile would get through, the devastation was enormous. Lynn and I actually last Thursday, as we record this, so just putting in some context, today is Thursday the 26th. and it is 5:00 in the afternoon, East Coast time here in Washington, D.C. But a week ago, on the 19th of February, in the midst of this intense missile war between Israel and Iran, Lynn and I, most people were the government told us it's not illegal to go outside your home, but we encourage you not to do that. We encourage you to stay in your homes and near your bomb shelters. But Lynn and I decided we were going to go visit one of the pastors and his wife that we support in the Joshua Fund that live in the community called Bat Yam, which is just south of Tel Aviv. And that is a community that took the biggest hit and the biggest death toll and the biggest number of casualties. And it just destroyed about 20 buildings, one missile coming in. And we wanted to see it for ourselves. We wanted to tour the neighborhood. We wanted to pray. And we wanted to sit with this pastor and his wife and hear how they were doing, how their congregation was doing. So all that to say, most Israelis were up much of the night because the missiles just kept flying. And so even you'd go to sleep maybe for a few hours after the alarms, but your adrenaline would be racing and trying to settle back down. And then there'd be another salvo. So we're all exhausted. And our airports in Israel are, as we record this on Thursday, the 26th of June, the airports are still closed in Israel, though they are intending to open up soon. There's no flights at this moment, and there haven't been since this part of the war started. So we have Joshua Fund ministry work that we are supposed to be doing here in the United States. So the question is, how do you get out? We looked at options to go take a boat to Cyprus and to fly then from Larnaca to the States. We looked at going through Egypt. In the end, we took a land route. We crossed the border into Jordan with some friends, some believing friends, and we drove several hours to Amman, Jordan, the capital of Jordan. Then we flew on Emirates Airlines to the United Arab Emirates, which, if we didn't tell anybody for safety reasons and we didn't want to draw any attention, but it's kind of crazy, Hormoz, for Israeli Jews, followers of Jesus, but nevertheless, to go into one Arab country where people pretty much hate us. I mean, the king is wonderful, but the people are not happy with Israel. And then fly to another Arab country. Yes, the United Arab Emirates also has peace with us, but to fly into the Gulf that the Iranians call the Persian Gulf, right, into the place where just the day before Iran had been shooting missiles at Qatar, one of the Sunni Arab nations right there in the Gulf. So it was just a little surreal for us to do it, but it worked out, and we landed Thursday morning here just a few hours ago here in Washington. So, but we're exhausted. All of us are. It's the whole country, and certainly anyone involved in ministry. The Joshua Fund is doing so much, and I want to encourage people to be, if you're willing, keep praying, first of all, but also we do need your financial help on a regular basis with our regular fund of investing in the local churches in Israel and the Arab countries and doing humanitarian relief and educating the church. So that's joshuafund.com. Again, joshuafund.com. We also have right now, we reactivated the Rapid Response Fund. The Rapid Response Fund, that's for emergency needs right now that our team is seeing that we don't have budgeted for. So we're raising money for that right now. We've already given away tens and tens of thousands of dollars to do emergency humanitarian relief and other projects. So if you're able to give on a monthly basis to the Josh Fund for our general fund, that would be amazing. We would be so grateful for your help. If you can give a generous one-time gift to the Rapid Response Fund, we would also deeply appreciate it. We're trying to respond to real needs through the local believers. Right, there are organizations that raise money, millions of dollars from Christians in the United States and Canada, but they don't give it through the local Christians or Messianic believers in Israel. They give it instead, they give it to other people. So, but that's what the Joshua Fund does. We do work with the local congregations. So appreciate your help on that. And I want people to pray for the liberation of Iran, for the growth of the church in Iran, for the courage of the church in Iran, for the salvation of many, many more millions in Iran, and for judgment. I don't usually pray for judgment, but I believe this regime is so wicked, it is so cruel, and is enslaving and terrorizing the lives of 92 million Iranians, as well as the damage they've done to Israel and the neighbors. Now, if they all want to get saved and come to faith in Jesus and start watching Hormoz's broadcast, wonderful, but they also need to surrender out of power. But I think this regime has to come down. So those are my prayer requests. And Hormoz, do you have any prayer requests to add to that? And then we'll get into this conversation. Where do you think we are prophetically right now?
Prayer requests, of course, God has to intervene right now. For Iranian people, it's a choice between bad and worse right now. Either way, if Khamenei stays or goes, it's not going to be good, at least in short time. Even if the government collapses, there will be still some suffering during the change. So,
well, because we think of the Cuba model where I already said, well, once Fidel Castro was gone, it'll be great. But then Fidel Castro died and his wicked brother took over, and it's going to be no better.
Iranians they talk about democracy. They look up to U.S. and Israel. By the way, one reason they love U.S. and Israel is that what type of country they are. They're democratic. They're advanced in technology. So Iranians look up to Israel. Say, why can't we be like Israel in the Middle East? Okay. So with the future, even if the government collapses, it's not going to be nice. It's hard to say that because I take away some hope from our Iranian brothers, but the culture in the Middle East is not ready for democracy. We have seen that. And the same with Iranians. So the government collapses, there's going to be a season of suffering, infighting. And unfortunately, the Iranians don't have guns, but the Mujahideen, that they have an office in Washington, they have guns. They're organized. So I believe they're going to...
Just to be clear, the Mujahideen are the opposition forces, sort of the underground opposition, the resistance to the mullahs and the ayatollahs, correct?
That's right. And they were listed as terrorists for many, many years until about 10 years ago. The U.S. government took them off that list, and now they have offices in Washington, D.C. And so they have guns and they're organized. So I believe they're going to rise up and try to take over with force. But it's not going to be nice. So pray for Iranian people that they will see the truth. They'll not be deceived. This is the time that they can be deceived. And if one government goes, and maybe even worse can come. Pray for the Christians in Iran. My preaching is the darker it gets, the brighter you need to shine. This is a time that you go, and many are doing that. I can share many stories of how Christians in Iran right now, in the midst of suffering, they're sharing the gospel. They're opening their homes to both Christians and non-Christians. I even have some pictures that they say, I've opened my home, let several families come stay, Muslim families stay in my home, and one Christian family, and together we can witness to them. We can show Christ's love. So Christians in Iran, pray for them they will not pull back. They will not be controlled by fear, but by faith, by hope, and by love. And this is the time that they can go and gather the harvest. The harvest is there. This is the time to gather it.
Amen. Amen. All right. So in the few minutes we have left, why don't you look at Jeremiah 49, since that's what I just quoted from. Do you think we're getting, generally speaking, of course we're getting closer, but do you sense that the environment that we're in, that we're very close to Jeremiah 49, or is it your sense that those are last days prophecies that will happen, but they're probably not going to play out in the near term?
Yeah. If I want to, I wrote the book, Iran's Great Awakening, and I opened up that passage verse by verse, word by word. But if I want to interpret it according to today's environment, I don't see people of Iran hating anybody, the people. And so if they got free, they will establish relationship with all government, including U.S. and Israel. So I've come to I believe, and I want to ask your opinion, when it says about his enemies, maybe it means the Islamic government, because the greatest enemy to the people of Iran right now is the Islamic government. And maybe they will be judged. And said, because the people of Iran are not the enemy of anybody right now. So what I see is that overall, no matter what, there's going to be a season of suffering. We see Jeremiah starting 49:34 text. He says, I will break the bow at the base of power of Iran, the Elam. And we see that happening already. Missile sites, the bow is where you send the missiles, today's missile site. So you can look at it and say, oh, yeah, it is happening now. The base of power of the government is broken, both economy, military, nuclear, missiles, and most important, the base of power of the Islamic government was Islam. It used Islam as a power base to control people. And that has also been broken. The base of spiritual power has been broken. So that's 49, 30, 34 and on is happening. Maybe this is not the ultimate fulfillment. Maybe there will be another one, but it's exactly what's happening right now.
There's so many questions, and in this case, we've got not much time. So let's just wrap up with, so let me give you my own take for a second on, people are asking me so much in recent days about Ezekiel 38, 39. Are we closer to the war of Gog and Magog, or are we further away? And the answer is I don't know. And I'm going to explain very quickly why, and then I want your take, and then we'll close out. We'll obviously need to pick this up. But so on the one hand, you could argue, well, the Iranian military has been decimated. The Russian military over the last 3+ years has been decimated in Ukraine. So these two leaders of these two countries, Russia and Iran, have been humiliated. Their military is decimated, and they are going to limp off the battlefield, and it's going to be years before we see them be a threat again. I mean, we're not done yet, but we're moving towards the end in both cases. So no, it's more likely that Russia and Iran won't be a threat to Israel in the near term, and that maybe 6 months from now, we may all be saying, wow, Israel is the dominant and sole superpower in the region, bar none, that it's, now the Saudis and maybe the Lebanese and others are ready to make peace with Israel because the Iranian regime, or at least the Iranian threat, is gone. The Hezbollah threat is gone. The Hamas threat is gone. So Israel emerges in a tremendous season of peace and security and prosperity. That's reasonable. I mean, I think that I've been saying this actually for months, that that's where we're headed, even though it looked like Israel was, struggling so much against our enemies. So that's one scenario, that we're actually many years or maybe even decades away from Gog and Magog. And I think that's a reasonable analysis. However, if you look at Russia and Iran as humiliated, and they are, and their military is decimated, which they are, there's another case which they turn to the country known in the Bible as Gomer, but we know that is an ancient name for the nation state of the people we now know as Turkey, the country of Turkey. And now in Ezekiel 38, we've always focused, even you and I, as we talk about it, we always focus on Russia and Iran, Russia and Iran. We mentioned the other countries, but we haven't really talked about them as major players. But when you look at specifically at Gomer, it says, and all of its military. So you think, okay, well, Turkey's military right now is the largest in Europe. It is modern, it is Western built, it's Western trained, it's Western equipped, and except for slaughtering Kurds, they haven't really been in battle where their military has been decimated. So is it possible a scenario in which Vladimir Putin or somebody that follows him soon, and Ali Khamenei or somebody that follows him soon, might feel so humiliated and so angry and so bitter and so vengeful that they turn to Recep Erdogan and say, let's go take out the Israelis right now. Let's do it. Now, Recep Erdogan is breathing murderous threats against Israel and has been for several years, certainly since October 7th. He's talking about invading Israel. He's talking about reclaiming Jerusalem. He's talking about sending the Turkish military in. Now, Turkey is a NATO ally, and it's part of NATO. So if Israel were to fight against it, it would be triggering Article 5. But, so is that a scenario that could happen in the coming weeks or months? And the answer is yes. I actually think that's not implausible. That's a scenario that could happen. So to me, that I can't tell people right now whether we're closer to Gog and Magog or further away. I think those are the two major scenarios that I could see playing out. And then that leads to the question of, well, then what happens with Iran? Are we to the point where we're getting closer to fire falling from heaven and earthquakes and diseases that's going to destroy the leadership of Russia and Iran and Turkey and Libya and Sudan and so forth? So what's your sense of things? And we'll close this out. We can't do a whole doctoral dissertation on it, but I would love your assessment of, and what are you telling people on your live broadcast as they ask, where are we in terms of the prophecies related to Iran?
My answer is yes. We are. These events point to the same direction, so it's aligned with the prophecies in the Bible. But how fast that can happen? When you look at Ezekiel 38, that event, the war, will happen when Israel is safe and prosperous. So it's these taking care of Hamas, taking care of Hezbollah, now Iran. It all aligns with Ezekiel 38, making Israel safe. So after it feels totally safe, how long after that the war will be, I don't know. But I think I see that we are moving in that period of safety and prosperity, even more than now. And as you mentioned, Israel could be one of the superpowers. And I think it may take a few months, few years to get to that, or it could be sooner, because Israel is taking care of its enemies, either make peace with those Arab countries or is destroying the enemy. So there will be a period of safety before that war happens. That's what I see in Ezekiel 38.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Hormoz. Right now, I see the corridor between Tel Aviv and Tehran as the most dangerous corridor on the planet, except for the corridor between Moscow and Kyiv, right, in Ukraine. I mean, these are the two most dangerous places on the planet right now. And I would add the corridor between Beijing and Taipei, Taiwan, but the Communist Chinese have not moved yet. So if you look at the three major threat zones, Israel and Iran has just gone through the biggest war between these two countries in history. And now where? The question what we're asking is what happens now? I think the one thing we can conclude, right, Hormoz, based on, if I'm hearing you correctly, is the environment is still a spiritual environment in which there's so much geopolitical instability, so much pain, so much suffering, so many dashed hopes. Will we be free? Will Israel and the United States come and set us free? That the spiritual environment is still very conducive to Muslims leaving Islam, coming to faith in Jesus Christ, but they need encouragement. They need discipleship. They need to grow in their faith, and they need to be bold witnesses to the rest of their, neighbors and friends and family. But that's basically what you're saying is we don't know exactly where Iran is going geopolitically or prophetically yet, based on current evidence, but we do know spiritually it is a very encouraging environment in which there's so much sadness that people are looking to Jesus for hope. Is that a fair summary of where we are?
Yes, exactly. And what I feel, I've said this before, that Ezekiel 38 and Jeremiah 49 are being fulfilled simultaneously, not now, but in the same direction. The government of Iran wants to destroy Israel. The people of Iran are becoming Christians, set his throne in Iran. So a revival among the people and a hatred in the government of Iran to destroy Israel. Both of them, one of them aligns. The government of Iran is fulfilling Ezekiel 38. The people of Iran are fulfilling Jeremiah 49, 38.
Wow, what a fascinating summary. That's a great way to end. Hormoz Shariat, thank you so much for your friendship, for your love for Jesus Christ, your love for his word. You're walking in the power of the Holy Spirit, you, your family, your team. And may God bless you and the ministry of Iran Alive. And I would encourage everyone, yes, the Joshua Fund needs your help, but so does Iran Alive Ministries. So please, Hormoz, just give us the website address for your ministry.
It's iranalive.org, iranalive.org. And sign up. You get all these news of what's happening in Iran. It's not bad news. It's good news of what God is doing. You've had enough bad news. So here's some good news and some good testimonies. Go sign up to receive our updates.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We love you. We're standing with you and the people of Iran. And we'll have to talk later in a different podcast podcast about Reza Pahlavi, the Crown Prince, who I had the opportunity to meet and interview 2 years ago. He is certainly in the news a lot. He's pretty bullish, but we'll see. There's a lot. Right now, our focus on this podcast is the spiritual condition of the Iranian people. And we want everyone between Tel Aviv and Tehran to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ and make a decision, either for Jesus, to receive him, we hope, or to reject him. But they need to hear. And the Joshua Fund and Iran Alive Ministries are working to make sure that everybody has a chance to hear and make a decision for or against. So thank you, Hormoz. Grateful to have you on the program.
God bless you, Joel. You're doing a great work for the Lord.
Thank you. And thank you so much, all of you who have been watching and listening to this podcast. Please share this podcast, a link to with family and friends on your social media platforms so they can hear what's, an expert perspective from Hormoz on what's really happening inside Iran. Please check out the show notes for our Rapid Response Fund, for the Iran Alive Ministries, and anything else that we have mentioned. Thank you for listening. Keep praying for Israel. Keep praying for the Palestinians. Keep praying for the Iranian people, and keep living for Jesus Christ in the power of the Spirit. Don't grow weary in well-doing, because in due time, you're going to reap a harvest. Don't drift from the Lord right now. We are in the last days. We're going deeper into the last days. This is not a good time to be drifting away from, or rejecting, or rebelling against God, or just thinking, well, it'll be, he doesn't really care what I'm doing right now. He does care. He loves you, and he wants you to walk closely with him and be a witness for him, an ambassador for him. And I encourage you to do that. For Lynn and the Joshua Fund board and team and our podcast team, which is amazing, I'm Joel Rosenberg in Washington today with this edition of Inside the Epicenter. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode soon.
I'm Joel Rosenberg. On your left, you'll find some videos we've chosen specifically for you. We look forward to partnering with you to bless Israel and her neighbors in the name of Jesus.